Okay, so we're going to talk about the post-production, preparing your images for submission to either a gallery or a online show, or even a real show, you know, a regular show that wants to see your digitally submitted pictures. Now, I assume now you have the pictures on your computer. Either you got it there with you know, a dongle that reads the card from your photo, or you downloaded it from one of the data photo organizers like Google Photos. Okay, so we're taking this from what's already on your computer. All right, I want to be really clear that the purpose of this is that you're presenting your artwork as accurately as possible. Right? We don't want to make it look so you know, change the colors or change the lines so that it doesn't represent the original artwork that you're submitting. We're going to resize it to fit requirements. And there's a chance to correct minor blemishes. Of course, you don't want to do too much, because what you're submitting is what you're submitting. I'm going to show the software for this is the software that comes with your computer. If it's a Microsoft computer or an Apple or even a Chromebook, you have software options that can do this stuff. It's not as powerful as Photoshop, so I'm just going to go through the basics. We would need to rotate an image, crop an image, remove blemishes, possibly fine-tune color, brightness, contrast, resize, and scale. Now, before I get to that, I know a lot of you know this, but I would like to just be really clear about what the terms are. So cropping means editing off the edges of a picture, and it's going to be rectangular. So here I'm using a very old watercolor of mine. As you can see, this is a crappy photo that's off to the left. You can see the background behind it and the paper slide. We crop it and make it look suitable. Okay. The next thing to know is a pixel. A pixel really is just a measure of a unit of measure, and I put the official definition there. It's very helpful because your computer screen is going to be very different from another person's. Everybody here probably has a different size monitor that we're looking at. So it's not really any more 72 dpi. Apparently 72 dpi was off of the old Macintosh computer screens, those little ones. So I have a link at the end of this show, which there's a guy who actually went into this and showed you how you can calculate what DPI your screen is by your measurement, if you want to know that. But so we're going to be working mostly with 1200 DPI. I noticed at the cafe website, it's a minimum of 1200 on the shortest side. Some are the maximum, and I'm going to go through that right now to discuss what is the difference. What is this DPI? Actually, or pixels, I should say. So 120 pixels. The reason why I put 120 is because that's kind of what a selfie is, or a small thumbnail on a website is about 120 pixels wide. 1200 pixels on the smallest side is what we want to submit. And then 12,000. Now you can take a 120 pixel picture and bring it into one of these platforms and expand it to 1200, but it's going to look like garbage. So you can only work with, you can only go smaller, right? You can't go larger with computer. There isn't extra data in there that we don't know about. The other thing about the 120, 1200, and 12,000 is this is roughly the file size. It is almost like the measurement of an area. The 120 pixels by 100 pixels would dictate the actual size of a file. And some of these files, like if you were doing a movie poster, 12,000 pixels would be possible. However, you would need to have special equipment, and you'd have to be able to zip it, etc., just to function with it. So, because it's such a huge file. So here's 120 pixels. it looks like garbage. You know, if I scale it up on this presentation like I did, this is literally at 120 pixels of my kiwi and salt, and it looks like garbage. So we don't want to do that. You want to start off with high resolution. Most of your cameras, if you're not using a selfie side, the front facing camera is a good quality unless you change the settings. Here's 1200 DPI. We can actually see the texture of the paper and the lines and subtle shading. And then if you do 12,000, you get an error message. So we don't want to do it too large. All right, the next term to know is resizing or scaling. Okay, we're going to go into the computer and tell it how wide exactly. Like the one on the left, I started with 2744 pixels wide. Okay, then I changed it to 1200. You notice that they look almost identical. All right, it's not such a huge change. All right, the other term I want to go over is RGB and CMYK. This used to be an issue. It really isn't anymore. Even if so red, green, blue is mostly for photographers and digital media, and CMYK is for printing. But these days, printers can handle either. The web can handle either. But you may get a message, especially you bring up a picture that you're not used to into a platform. It may ask you which you want, and it doesn't really matter. But if you're sending it digitally, you might as well choose the red, green, blue. Okay, I put caution here. We're going to be adjusting brightness, contrast, hue, saturation a tiny bit. I actually recommend you trust your camera. Don't even touch this. But I will show you how you can. Let's say you didn't have much time, or in my case, maybe my photo's my picture's in another place. I can't retake another photo. Maybe you need to touch it up a little. That's fine. But one thing to keep in mind is pictures will look different. Colors will look different depending on the monitor and the computer. So it may look beautiful on your screen, and then you send it for submission and it looks completely different. So that's why I say if we mess with the color, we're talking teeny tiny bits. We don't want to manipulate it too much. All right, and this is probably the most important. I think all artists need to know these file formats. This is basically, how does the computer package your image? It really is that. It's the file format. What is the file format? Now, the most common is JPEG. JPEG is it's the smallest file. Even for a high quality one, is the smaller of these three. It'll load quickly on the web, or faster than the others, but it's only one layer. And you'll see in some of these applications, you can save information in different layers. And JPEG, you actually lose some of the image quality when you save it as a JPEG, but it's great for websites. The next one is the PNG. And by the way, I put what these letters stand for, which is down in the bullet points. This is basically tells other programmers who made it. It doesn't really give us that much information. The PNG is interesting to know. You should know, because it does allow much more data. It retains more information from your original photo. It also allows layers and transparency layers. If you want to bring a picture of, let's say, a picture of one of your sculptures, something that's non-rectangular, and you can put it on a transparent background in, say, GIMP or Photoshop, or I think those are the two I can think of, and it will keep that transparency when you bring it into your website. It's very handy to know. But these files are going to be larger, much larger. And then TIFF. TIFF is the lossless image format. You're not going to lose any of that information from your photo. It's all going to be there, but these files are going to be very high. This is what the printer is. If you're going to be doing a book of your artwork, you're going to be submitting TIFFs to the printer. So those are the 3 files formats that I think you need to know. Most places I've looked at ask for JPEG or PNG. All right. So what applications come free with your computers? Preview comes with Macintoshes. If you are looking at one of your photos, you double click on it. Preview is the photo viewing software that's going to pop up. You can actually resize and adjust your photos using Preview. Unfortunately, I don't have a Mac. We don't have a Mac in the house anymore. We used to. But I have a link to a couple of 2. One is an article, the other is a video, depending, because some people like videos, some people like articles, on how to do this. It's pretty direct. You know, click on the tools in the menu, select adjust size, make sure scale proportionally, right? You don't want it squished or stretched out, is clicked, and then set your pixels. So yeah, and make sure it says pixels, and then you can set that. Now, with Windows, you get Photos. It's the application name Photos. And I have that on this computer, and I will show you how to do that. Again, it's about the same as using it for the Macintosh. It's not very hard, but I will show you that directly. And then third, if you want something that does a little bit more, I would recommend GIMP. This is a Linux-based open source photo editor. And the reason why I'm saying that is because Macintosh operating system is actually based on Linux. A lot of computers are based on Linux. All of Chrome is Linux-based. It works, even though you download it to your computer, it works on any of those computers. And it's not as powerful as Photoshop, but it can get a lot of the work done. It has no sales. You never have to pay anything. I've been using it for 12 years, and they've been making it for 25. It's a nonprofit, open source. Anyway, it's very handy, and I will also show you how to adjust a photo in that. Okay. So just to go over, I'm going to go first into Photos. I won't have to rotate, but we would rotate, crop, remove blemishes, fine-tune color, and resize. So now we're going to go. Here we are in Photos. Okay, this is my crappy little salt and kiwi painting. And I'm going to first crop it, okay, before I do anything. And I'm going to go up here to Edit. And here it says Edit and Crop. Okay, and the one thing is, I have to say I wonder, I'll make this, sorry, I have to make this smaller so I can do everything I want to do. Let's see, yeah, let's hide this a little bit. All right. So these little handles on the corner can tell me how, I can adjust it. I'm going to adjust it down a little. I'm going to come from this corner. All right. Okay. And I'm going to save a copy because that would be very handy. And it's saving as a JPEG, so it must have come in as a JPEG. All right. So there we go. So now we've cropped it. Next thing I'm going to do, oops, now I have to move this over here. I'm going to, let's see, Edit and Adjustments. And down here is Spot Fix. Now, I picked this drawing partially because it does have spots on it. Usually when I photograph things, I try to make it square and clean, but that's why I picked this old painting. Okay, so I have a dot, a blemish down here. I have Spot Fix and it takes it away. But it doesn't take away the texture. Same thing up here, and I click one, well, no, I guess, gotta click a few times. So that's pretty simple, but I wouldn't do anything really beyond that. Here we have clarity, which is kind of like contrast, right? I'm not going to adjust this, but if I was going to present this to an art show, I wouldn't adjust it, but I'm going to adjust it for you guys so you can see what it does. So here it's going to, the lines, notice the contrast gets much stronger, and there it gets softer, fuzzier. All right. Same, vignette is pretty funny. It puts like a halo. Look at that. It cracks me up. Or a reverse halo. Anyway, you guys, now you guys can make your cards next year, right? All from here. All right. So, and then the most important thing is we want to resize. All right. So let's go back. Oh, sorry. Oh, dang it. Okay. All right. So to resize, we're going up here to these 3 lines, and we're going to go down to.
You have 3 minutes. 3 minutes, Jen.
Oh,
Jen.
I do? Okay. We're going to go to resize, define custom measurements, and we want, let's see, we want the height to be 1200. And say resaved. Oh, here, I'll say 2. All right. So that's doing Photoshop. Now it's the 1200 pixels that we wanted. It's, I mean, not photos, sorry, photos. This is GIMP. Oh, wait. Okay, now this is the same thing, and this is in GIMP software, which is free. And you can see that there's a whole bunch of drawing implements, etc. Really, all you need to know for this one is up here we have the crop tool, and we're going to crop it. All right. Then I hit enter. All right, and then I'm going to go to image and scale image. Remember, scale and resize. And here we have, it's always, you would have to tell it not to make it this, what is the word I want? It'll if you change one side, it'll change the other. So now I'm going to change this to 1200 scale, and notice how it just got a little bit smaller. All right. And then for this one, because this is like Photoshop, you don't save as, you need to export it. So you say export as, and I want to make sure that it's a JPEG, okay? Because right now it says, yeah, it says it's a JPEG, but let's make sure. And I'm going to scroll down to their tags, and there's JPEG. And I say export. I better read, yeah. Okay, now this dialog box is going to come up when you export anything in JPEG. You guys probably know this, but if you're sending it out, don't touch anything. If you're loading it for a website and you need it to load faster, you can change these settings. But for the highest quality, I wouldn't touch it. And let's go back to here. And I want to get to my links. But that is it. That is basically how you reset your digital images so that you can submit them. And I can post this on a website, a couple of people's websites, all these links. They were very handy. Actually, some of them were interesting. Okay.
Sure.